Hello, North Carolina. I am stoked to see all your beautiful faces, I imagine. Welcome back to season 4 of Liberty Inc., your source for all things liberty in our great Tar Heel state. Today, for our first episode, very special guest, Joshua Smith of Break the Cycle, former LPN, I always want to say LPNC, but LP National Vice Chair at large community member in California. I mean, he's been all over the place and he is running for president. So we are kicking off this season with our potential presidential Porcupine series, getting ready for the big primary tomorrow. If nothing else, I encourage you, please go vote. We got lots of big things in store this season, all sorts of different things we're going to try. Looking for your feedback. Remember, like and subscribe. communications@lpnc.org if you have any questions. And after Joshua Smith, we move this one quickly. So it's two things today to get him out so that you have a chance to see as many of the presidential interviews as you can before the primary. But as always, Dub and Groo talk sports. Enjoy. All right. Hello, North Carolina. Welcome back to your source for all things liberty in the great Tar Heel state, Liberty Inc. Continuing our potential presidential Porcupine series, I am stoked this evening to have on Joshua Smith, a veritable Renaissance man in the Libertarian Party, host of Break the Cycle, prior vice chair, prior chair of, I believe, California and Washington. Do I have that right?
Not chair, but I was on the
executive committee.
Yeah, I was an at-large for one and a Region 6 rep for another. I was also an at-large on the l&c for 2 terms from 2018 to 2020, 2022 as well, yeah.
A prolific father, which is an interesting statement, but a true one. A veteran. Thank you very much for your service, as always. No matter what you think about military interactions, I find so many soldiers are liberty-minded because they're willing to sacrifice for the freedom of others. So thank you sincerely. We do appreciate that. And now running for the nomination for president for the Libertarian Party. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Thank you so much for having me on, Rob. I really appreciate it. I'm stoked to be here. I love your great state, your great Tar Heel state there. I'm sorry to the Libertarians of North Carolina that it happened to be the one of the 2 weekends I can't travel during this whole campaign, but it just fell that way. And as you said, I am a prolific father. Thank you. That was actually like one of the greatest things anybody's ever said to me in my life. But it's true. I have 7 children in my home. And I work real hard to ensure that they have a good life. And I am the blue collar candidate. I'm the blue collar working class candidate. There's not a lot of people running for president like me, if any. And so there are some days during the nomination campaign that I wasn't able to travel. Now, when we get into the actual campaign, if we make it into the campaign, my work knows that I have a leave of absence. I haven't scheduled anything through November, so we're good to go there. But yeah, man, I'm sorry I miss you guys. I love North Carolina. You guys are great, and I appreciate you having me here, Rob. It means a lot to me.
No, of course, I appreciate you being here. As you mentioned, blue collar, and that, from my observations, describes your approach to everything. You got your start working on Ron Paul's 2008 campaign, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I was street teaming it up
there too.
Yeah, street teaming it up in 2008 on his campaign. Of course, I did rally behind him in 2012 as well. I didn't know much about Gary Johnson or the Libertarian Party in 12, but I rallied behind him in 12, and then of course I was at the Occupy movement rallying for Ron Paul with all these leftists, and that was in Oakland, where it was like the epicenter of the whole thing. And so, and one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me in my entire life, outside of the births of my children, was Ron Paul endorsing me for national chairman of the Libertarian Party in 2020.
Didn't you give an introduction for his keynote speech?
I actually was considered the keynote speaker at the Omaha Roads to Freedom Unconvention. So they had a bunch of breakout rooms, and they had the main huge ballroom, and I was the last speaker there. And this was in 2018, by the way, when I had no idea what I was doing. I had never been a public speaker at all. I was kind of just flying by the seat of my pants, and I show up, and they're like, "Yeah, your speech is an hour." I'm like, what? And so the night
People don't know how
before,
long that is,
that's a
too.
long speech, man. So and I was used to giving these 10 to 15 to 20-minute max speeches. And so the night before, I actually sat down with Boomer Shannon from California. We riffed off each other. He helped me come up with some things. We came up with some quotes from Nietzsche and some others. And we gave a really good, like, how to be effective liberty advocate speech in the United States. But then I shut down the ballroom, and then there was a dinner afterwards the last night. And Ron Paul and Eric July actually spoke at
Oh, nice. All
the
right.
dinner. Yeah. So I was considered the keynote speaker of the whole thing. And I was just this like young guy running for chairman against Nick
That's so
Sarwark.
awesome.
And they paid for me to be there and stuff. I was like,
That's
you guys
awesome.
are paying? You're paying for me to be here? Okay. All right. I'll take it. Now I have like a light speaking fee, but back then just getting a stipend for flights was like crazy, you know?
The first time, and I did it on the academic side from some stuff. And I remember the first time they were like, yeah, we're covering you. Like, we pay for your ticket and your hotel. I'm like, wait, does it cost me anything? Yeah. Like,
Wow. Okay.
are you sure? What's the catch? They're like, well, you're speaking, right? Like,
Yeah, all right.
Wow.
I was just coming because it was going to help me,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
All right, sounds good.
Exactly.
But yeah, I was blue collar then. I'm blue collar now. I've been blue collar. I was talking to my son about this the other day. The kids don't understand. I had a paper route when I was 9 years old. In fact, I was on the front page of the newspaper because I had two paper routes at like 10. And I would get up every morning at 4 o'clock in the morning and roll my papers on Sunday mornings, the big fat ones, and I'd take my bike out and throw my papers all morning. And then I'd go get a box of donuts and some milk. And that was basically all the money you got paid for being a paper boy back then. And ever since then, I've been working my butt off. I went and worked at a gym at 13. I was cleaning the pool and mowing the lawns and cleaning gym equipment. And I went to work at my mom's construction firm that she worked for when I was like 15. I started digging trenches, and I've worked my way up into being a critical facilities engineer. I literally kept specializing until first it got me inside, and now it's got me a job where I get to watch a lot of Netflix and Twitter at work. It's really nice.
It's amazing what hard work does. I empathize. So I guess I was 11 when I had my paper route, fourth grade, and it was every Tuesday. It was like the Fairfax Courier or something in Northern Virginia, and you weren't allowed at that age to work alone. So it was my friend and I, and we just covered our neighborhood. But so without going into too much detail, because you bring up something interesting. So my brief libertarian story is actually, I went to a Catholic high school, and there were a lot of inconsistencies that always jumped out at me. And for me, the biggest issue, and it's not something that I don't like consider a core issue, but it was gay marriage. And what blew my mind is like the government's it's essentially telling people they can't have a contract together. Like, forget the whole marriage part. It's like, who can be at your bedside or who can inherit your money? Like, shouldn't I just be able to? But I didn't know. My parents were Republicans, and they were like, we're Republic, like red no matter what, sort of. And then I remember the 98 debates and Ron Paul. And I was just like, the light bulb went off, like, oh, this is what I am. But I look back, and I mean, I would argue that no one has done more for the liberty movement than Ron Paul, except for maybe like Thomas Jefferson. Like,
maybe Thomas Paine.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Yeah, I definitely, the modern liberty movement owes all of it to Ron Paul. There's no doubt about it. The man is a hero. And when I hear these people start talking about hero worship, you can't be hero worshiping. And I'm like, I can't actually hero worship Ron Paul because he's the guy who went in front of Congress and called them all psychopaths, and nobody else has done that. And it was beautiful. And to have somebody that was in Congress for that long to sit there and be dubbed Dr. No because he continued to vote no on all the bad bills that this bipartisan shit show continues to find support for, really, it made a difference to me. It changed my life. It made me understand that sometimes all it takes is one person to stand up and say no. And so, I wanted to be that one person because of Ron Paul. And there's millions of other people that want to be that one person because of Ron Paul. So we owe a lot to Ron Paul, and anybody dishing Ron Paul has got to really rethink where they came from, man.
It's not just want to because of him, but realize that you could. Like, I was like, oh, you mean like I'm allowed to have that? I never thought that I could think that way.
Exactly.
Because when they were like, do you think heroin should be legal? And he was immediately like, are you going to do heroin if it's legal? And it's like,
no.
Hey, just leave people alone and let them make their own decisions.
Yeah, and then he called the man fat on national television.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's when I entered this race, a lot of people were like, "Oh, you're a bomb thrower." Why can't you be more like Ron Paul? I'm like, this guy called someone fat on national television in 1988. He stood in front of Congress and called them a bunch of psychopaths on television. Okay.
Watch what he says about the Fed, the military industrial complex. Like,
Yeah,
telling the truth is not a bomb throwing.
I've taken everything that I believe in from that man, okay, when it comes to politics. And yes, I am brash. And everybody who knows me knows that I'm brash and I'm gonna sell it the way it's supposed to be sold. And as Dave Smith would say, I'm gonna sell that liberty shit, right? I'm gonna talk that liberty shit. And people know that about me. People know that that's how I'm going to do it because that's how I've been. Anybody who's been around me for the last 8 years in the Libertarian Party knows 100% that I am a bomb thrower, and that's a good thing. That's how we've been able to build this platform that I have currently. Also, it's the reason why I was the #1 recruiter in the Libertarian Party for 2 years in a row. In the entire National Libertarian Party, I was the #1 recruiter for 2 years when we were doing our best, by the way, several years ago. Okay, so like I know that I'm brash. I know that sometimes people think I step over the line, but man, I'm telling you, there's a whole swath of Americans that we have untapped because they want something radical. They want someone that's going to come out and tell these people that they're psychopaths. That, and that's who I am. I'm that guy that's going to go to you guys. Listen, if we get the nomination in May, I'm going to do everything in my absolute power to get into those debates. You guys realize that. I will do everything in my power up to and including being arrested for trying to go into the debates. Okay. I'm not lying to you. This is my biggest goal with this campaign is to get into those debates because I'm telling you, if I'm on stage, on TV, in front of the world, okay, with Donald Trump and Joe Biden, they're going to be clown shows when it's done. It's going to be nobody's going to respect these men when I get off a stage. I promise you that. And that's what we need. We need someone to wake up the sleeping giant in America. This 51% of the population that didn't vote for a president in 2020, okay? These people are just fed up with the bipartisan shit show that we have today. So bad that they've opted out of even voting anymore. Those are the people that we need to reach. And we're not going to do it by mimicking the old parties. We're not going to do it by saying, oh, I'm going to be just like, let's cut a little bit. Let's sundown Social Security and let's cut a little bit of this and let's have a flat tax. No, we need to go and tell these people that they're psychopathic warmongers that are killing people around the world for the benefit of nobody in this country but themselves. And I'm the guy that's going to do that.
So you actually raise a very interesting point. So I would actually argue they're not psychopaths, they're narcissists. And I mean clinical narcissists, which is it's a very specific thing similar to antisocial, which is a psychopath, but narcissists that behave in a sociopathic manner. And when you get narcissists like that, and it lends itself to the trade, it's similar to actors to fail and fail at every trial you go to, whether it's a tryout or an election, and to keep thinking you're worth it and come back. It does have some narcissistic behavior, but what you end up with is, like you said, we don't have Republicans, Democrats. We have a uniparty that runs this country, but they're very, very good at manipulating, instilling fear, creating paranoia, making us hate each other. And it feels like, I mean, granted, libertarians rest on principle and it's like what we have, but it does lead to infighting. And it's something that we just can't get out of, and particularly with social media, like it is not. What is your plan, especially if you get the nomination, to unify the party and refocus that energy on places where we can be productive, like getting into the debates?
Believe it or not, for the first time in my entire life in the Libertarian Party, I am finally the unity candidate. Okay. I know that a lot of people are going to laugh about that, but hear me out.
Fair. That's fair.
Hear me out. I am not endorsed by any caucuses. Okay. I am not working with any caucuses. Okay. I am the guy that can go between all the caucuses and say, knock it off. I'm the guy. I'm the one. Yes, I still have a big contingent of the Mises Caucus that supports me. There's no doubt about that. I helped build that platform. I don't care what anybody says. When in 2018, 2017, 2019, and up to through 2020 even, we didn't have a Dave Smith. We didn't have a Tom Woods. We didn't have any of these guys doing it for us. I was the guy who had to put the target on my back and go out and fight in the trenches to try and carve out some space for us in the Libertarian Party. And we got there, okay? I'm not saying I'm the only one. A lot of people put in a lot of work for this. Trust me. But back then we had nobody. We had no help. Everyone was laughing at us, telling us it wasn't going to happen. So I understand that people see that and realize that I'm at heart, I am a Mises guy, especially the Institute, especially Ludwig von Mises, who is an inspiration to me. And of course, Murray Rothbard radicalized me. I say that all the time. I love Hans Hermann Hoppe, and all these great economists that are on my wall right over here, right now on a poster. At the end of the day, I think that I've kind of started to take this path where I understand that we have to come up with realistic solutions, and kind of be populist. And a lot of people have dubbed me the America First populist libertarian candidate, which, most of us should be like, what the hell? Those terms aren't good. But truly, look, if we're running to govern America, then we need to understand the fears of Americans.
Absolutely.
Okay. And libertarians are quite frequently the most well-read people in the room. But we always forget that we have two ears and one mouth, and we never listen. We always want to just give people an absolute lecture from the podium about the great ideas of Murray Rothbard, right? And yeah, that's great to people who understand and know who Murray Rothbard is, but to people who don't,
and have gotten there too.
and have gotten there, right? Yeah. And so we have to go out and talk to people where they are. And I learned a lot of this from Larry Sharp, and maybe we have some different ideological differences here and there, but me and Larry are a lot alike when it comes to what we know we have to do to get these wins. And so I've learned to work with a lot of other people. And I think that, obviously I had a little falling out with Michael Heiss. I know a lot of people have seen that publicly, that Heiss and I kind of had a bit of a falling out. He's still my brother. I don't care how mad I am at him or how mad he is at me. That guy and I were in the trenches together for a long time. But because of that, other people have come to me and worked with me that probably wouldn't have worked with me before. And so
that's so libertarian.
It's really crazy because half my campaign team is Mises Caucus people. I mean, absolutely 100%. The people in my chat, my financial guy, my campaign manager, they're all Mises Caucus people. Okay. But half of my campaign are from the Radical Caucus. There's even a couple of the old school Prags that are on my campaign. It's the most unifying campaign in the Libertarian Party today, which I know, again, a lot of people are going to laugh about, but it's the truth. It's absolutely the truth. I am, for the first time, the unity candidate. I'm not Chase only working with the classical caucus. I'm not the old Josh Smith only working with the Mises Caucus. I'm the unifier. I'm the guy that has brought people together to work on my campaign. And I want to carve space out for everybody in the party. Now, look, if you believe that we need to continue these wars around the country, I don't want to work with you. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. If you think the Federal Reserve is a good net benefit for the society of America, I probably don't. Yeah, exactly. I probably don't want to work with you. If you think that Title 40, the Social Security Act that's been splitting up families in America since 1971, since Gerald Ford signed it into law, if you think the breakdown of the nuclear family is a net benefit for America, I probably don't want to work with you. But there's people that I disagree with on little things here and there, that I work with just fine. So I've been the unity candidate. I expect to continue to be the unity candidate. I expect to go forward after November and help try to repair some of the fractures in the party, get people back on track. Because look, at the end of the day, the Mises Caucus was very important to me, but the party is very important to me too. I think that this is the only vehicle I see in my lifetime that can actually drive a wedge between the uniparty. And if we let it go, we let it go. It's over. That's it. And so I really do want to unify the party. I really do want the party to heal a lot of these divides and fractures. I think there's a lot of really good people out there that are mad about this and that. I know that there's some people that are arguing about some of these things in really bad faith, and probably I don't want to work with those people. But there are people who are arguing about some of these things in good faith that are good people, and I'd like to see them come back to
party move forward.
Yeah. And there's Mises Caucus members that have left too. Don't get me wrong. There's some people who were upset after 2022 and the Reno takeover who thought maybe things were going to go a different way that didn't. And it's just about as much about bringing those people back too. I want them all to come back. I want us to get back on track. I want to set the stage for a sick run in 2028 where we actually have a nice platform. And I think that, of the current candidates, I'm the one that has the best chance of doing that. So.
Okay. Well, that's a follow-up question on that. In terms of bringing people back into the fold and moving forward, because I think there's one of the core, because I have put out there that of the entire LP, we agree on 90% of stuff, and it's the other 10% where we viciously disagree. But
sure.
One of those key philosophical differences is what is the purpose of the party? Is it to win elections, or is it to move liberty forward? And not that one is not important, but what is the foundational element?
Well, so specifically due to our bylaws, it's both. Okay, they're both listed in the bylaws of the Libertarian Party.
Of course, yeah.
One is to be an educational outlet, and the other is to run candidates in elections. And of course, you want to win these elections. Now, I want to be very, very clear about this. I know it will make some people mad. We are not going to win the presidency in 2024. It's not going to happen. I know some of you guys are going to be really let down thinking that just here in about 8 months we're going to win an election, but it's not going to happen. Okay. And I think that we have to seize these opportunities to build the platform. And I'm going to talk a lot about platforms, and I don't mean the LP platform. I mean the visibility platform, the platform that makes people trust us, that makes people believe in us, that makes people realize that we can win these things, and the platform that teaches people how to opt out of these systems. You know, we're in a civil war right now. I say this a lot on the show. And I know people are like, whoa, 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 civil war. What are you talking about? And I'm like, no, no, no. Listen, a lot of people say that if you'll never go to a civil war because that means you're going to have to start fighting jets with your AK-47s, which I have, by the way. And I didn't lose shit, in case anyone asked. But that's not what the Civil War is in 2024. The Civil War in 2024 is opting out of the federal fiat system by buying and using Bitcoin. It's opting out of the corporate farming structure and growing your own food. It's homeschooling your children. It's homesteading. It's all these things that we can teach as libertarians because we have the knowledge and are doing these things already. It's printing guns in your basement with your $300 Ender, right? KV3 or whatever. I mean, this is the Civil War, and we are winning. We will win. Okay. I want everybody to eat the white pills. We are winning 100% because it's opting out every day. People are adopting this opt-out mindset, opting out of this federal government that just continues to harm us and oppress us all the time. And we're winning. But we need somebody who's going to go out there and be a messenger about these things to make people feel good about doing them, because there's two things that bring people to the ballot box. Obama proved this to us: hope and change, hope and change. And there is no hope and change at the federal level. It's gone. This uniparty bipartisan crap is what you will have forever if we don't start opting out today. And so I want to be that mouthpiece that goes around and tells people, and that's what this presidential candidacy will be about. Is a 50-state media tour, and I think we're uniquely positioned to get the biggest media platforms as well. We've already done Tim Pool 3 times. I just did Stu Peters twice. We're going on Patrick Bet-David. We're working on Rogan. We're working on Sean Ryan. So we're doing all the things that I wanted to see out of a campaign already, but it's going to take somebody who's willing to go out there and is willing to be like lively and wake people up and make people want to have them back on the show repeated times. And I think we're uniquely placed to be the best to do that, but we got to build this platform. It's the only way going forward that we're going to have any kind of say in America is if we build the platform of the Libertarian Party. And I think that we can get it done and go into 2028 strong, real strong.
So I'm with you that we're winning. One of my proudest moments is right about this time last year. So my dad passed away 15 months ago in December.
Sorry about
and
that,
after
man.
20 years of working on her, I finally got my mom to switch from Republican to Libertarian.
Nice.
She was like, what? My husband died. And I had like, what form do you need? What do you need me to sign? Why do I have to? It was like 5 months of her, 74 years old, fighting with them about it. Right. But I'm also with you on the white pill and the Civil War part. And I was just discussing that with my mom today. I was like, it's not a fight in the streets. It's knowing how to file a FOIA request. Like right. That's where it comes in. But that's talking to other libertarians. She's listened to my nonsense, if you will, for years. My wife can recite. My wife is, she's liberty minded. She gets mad at politics, but she can recite more libertarian philosophy than 90% of the country because she's got to listen to it all the time.
Right.
But when you say look, I won't say we're not going to win the presidency because I can't bring myself to, but I'm not an idiot. Like, I know the odds. So I got two questions for you maybe on that. One, what does a successful run look like to you if it's not being in the White House? And two, because to me, one of the biggest things we could do is get more than like 2 or 3%. If we hit like 6 or 7%, yeah. Because all of a sudden now it's like, wait, they can do it. But to do that, I think messaging, like you said, is totally key. How do you communicate libertarian solutions for kitchen table issues? Because most people don't care about the Fed. They care about their paycheck and their rent. Right. And you have to draw that line.
Well, I think that's what I'm the best at, right? Like this is what I've been successful at, turning people libertarian. Funny story, I got my mom to turn libertarian in 2020 and vote for Spike Cohen. It was her first time ever voting for anybody that wasn't my grandfather, by the way. She's been voting for my grandfather in every election since she could vote. And so it was the first time ever, and she voted for Joe and Spike, and she registered libertarian in the state of Oregon. So listen, I am good at communicating these ideas in a way that the blue collar working class of America, the middle class, understands, because I am the blue collar working class, middle class of America. I understand very succinctly how this federal government is hurting me in my pocket, in my family life, at my job, all of these things. Okay. I know how they've made it very hard for me as somebody who's working on getting my real estate license to get my real estate license, which is something that I could already do. I already could buy and sell real estate, but I have to go through a course and take a test and pay a bunch of money to all these people and get a license that has to stay with the real estate commission. And as soon as I leave that job, they take my license and they hold on to it until I go to another job. You know what I mean? Like
Crazy.
they
Where
I
are you hanging
know,
your bag? Like, yeah,
yeah,
it's so
like
nuts.
I know how hard they make everything on us, because they make everything hard on me. And all the way from, finding me if I go a week or two without cutting my grass, all the way up to federal crimes, right? Like for victimless crimes. So like, I think that I'm good at talking about these things already to people, because I've been through them. I've been through the family law system, and I've made the family unit like one of the very biggest issues in my family, or in my campaign, right? Like, I talk a lot about Title 4D of the Social Security Act. There's so many fathers. Okay, let me explain this to you. I don't want to leave the ladies out. I understand that sometimes ladies don't get custody of their children. It's very rare. Like less than 8% of family law
Yeah,
cases.
it's I was gonna say it's like
Yeah,
7.7%. I saw this
yeah.
just the other day.
Yeah, it's not over 92% of men do not get full custody of their children. Um, sorry, and
And
I've
I
been
think
through that.
like 40% only get visitation rights, so they don't even get
It,
partial
it's it's
custody.
it's more than that. It's
Is
actually
it?
more than that. Yeah, it's
And
it's
because
over it's over
it was something
50%.
dismal. Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's
Okay.
over 50%. And so we have a family law system in America that is dragging men through the mud, turning them into visitors in in their children's lives, using them as piggy banks that actually I found out in my time going through the family law system was all by design entirely. In 1971, Gerald Ford signed into law Title 40 of the Social Security Act, which essentially pays $1 to the states from the federal government for every 88 cents the states spend on any of these programs, any of these family law programs, not just child support. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, that's just child support. No, it's any of these programs, the whole family law system in general. Every 88 cents they spend, the federal government gives them $1. So you've incentivized the states to tear apart families. And this is the crux of our problems today in America. Is we went from in 1971, when this was signed into law, we went from 1 in 60 children living in a fatherless home to 1 in 4 children living in a fatherless home.
It's
And
worse for black families. And then they want to talk about
course,
the
yeah,
breakdown of the black family. It's like you incentivized that. You created that
they
problem, and
did
now
it.
we're getting yelled at for it.
Yeah, they did it, and they did a lot of that through drugs as well. They introduced crack. That we know that the CIA introduced crack into the black communities, got them strung out on crack, and then started taking fathers out of homes. This has always been part of the communist playbook. Okay, and I talk a lot about communism. People might think I'm crazy, but Yuri Bezmenov defected from the KGB and came over here in the 70s and told us directly they are infiltrating all of your institutions, your schools, your police forces, your governments, your libraries, everything from the top to the bottom. They're infiltrating so that they can destroy the family and go to war with faith. That's another thing. And I know libertarians are shaky on the faith thing, but there's two things in this world that keep people from joining communist revolutions: strong family values and faith, because they know that you're too strong to have to give up to the collective. So they have to destroy those two things. And it's been part of the plan for a long time. And 1971 was just a little drop in the bucket compared to what we're dealing with today, but it was kind of like one of the catalysts for all this stuff. And so I get the opportunity to talk to normal everyday dads that aren't even libertarian and say, hey, you've gone through the roughest, worst part of your life, and this is why. It's very easy for me to explain that because I've done it, right? It's the same with the Federal Reserve. It's the same with the warfare state, right? Like, I talk a lot about the warfare state. And of course, these are my three biggest issues. The Federal Reserve is absolutely demonic in every way, shape, and form. It is a leviathan that is basically a giant counterfeiting machine that steals our
It,
our
I gotta
wealth
cut in.
through a
One of the
tax
things
called
I'm most proud
inflation.
of, we homeschool, and my son gets his civics from the Tuttle twins.
Hell yeah.
And he's 9 years old upstairs talking about how the Federal Reserve is just an evil organization that steals from us, and I'm like cheering.
Yes.
My wife's
yes.
like, what have we created?
All of my kids feel the same way. They know that's a giant counterfeiting machine that steals wealth through a tax called inflation. And they use that inflation, that inflated money, to prop up the warfare state. That's literally how they prop up the warfare state. They continue to print this money out of thin air that lowers our purchasing power in the United States. So they're using our money. They're using the inflated portion of our money that's losing our purchasing power to send overseas to continue wars that you don't support without ever taking a vote. Okay. So like, I've been through this. I'm a veteran, obviously. I was part of the Operation Iraqi Freedom, the battle group that I was associated with in the early 2000s was the shock and awe campaign in Iraq. We literally dropped 100 million tons of ordnance on Baghdad. And I said at 19 years old, this is not right. This is not okay. The mission is corrupt, absolutely corrupt. There is nothing of benefit for the public of America going on in the Middle East today. Not in Yemen, not in Syria, not in Iraq, not in Iran, not in Palestine, not in Israel, not anywhere in the Middle East is there something of benefit for the American public. Listen, we have to get out of these wars entirely. It's destroying our purchasing power. It's giving the government de facto rights to print money out of control and raise up the debt. And at the end of the day, all it's going to do is continue to send our sons and daughters to die in wars that we don't believe in. So, like, I get to talk about these things in a way that, like, people understand. I don't open up the textbook, right? I don't open up the Murray Rothbard. I don't open up the Hoppe.
Which libertarians love to do.
Yeah, I don't open up Menger or any of these great people that I love, that I cherish, that have helped me shape who I am today. I get to talk to people as a veteran. Sorry, I'm getting over being sick. I get to talk to people as a veteran. I get to talk to people as a dad. I get to talk to people as a blue collar, working class, middle America guy. Like, that's who I am. And I get to talk to people like that. And I think that's one of the most beneficial things about me running for president today. Nobody else is doing this. Blue collar people don't wake up and go, hey, I'm going to run for president. And they're not expected to at all. We're expected to have the top of the top of the top run for president. The doctors, the lawyers, the lifelong politicians, these billionaires and millionaires and people who have never had to live this life. Now you've got a guy who's going to go up to the rooftop and scream about all the things that you've dealt with. Somebody who's not removed from your reality, someone who has lived your reality.
Which is actually what Trump did very successfully in his last run. It's just... people were like, they didn't draw the connection that, like, hey, this is a billionaire New York real estate developer criminal. Like, he's going to drain the swamp. He is the swamp, people.
Okay, but he listened. But he listened to people. He listened to people. Okay, and I need libertarians to understand this. We don't listen enough. Okay, we want to spout out about like when it comes to the border issue. Okay, like, obviously, if I had to pick one, I think this is a question that you have for us. But if I had to pick one issue where I differ from most libertarians, I'm not an open borders guy. I think that it's wildly unpopular in America, and it makes us look like loonies the second we're like, yeah, kill all the borders, let everybody in. We can't do that. Look, we're running as an American to govern Americans, okay? And they have very real fears about the crisis at the border. And 10 million people across the Texas border illegally in 1 year definitely looks like an invasion to most people, okay? Now, whether you want to call it an invasion or not, I don't know, but I've never seen an invasion of 10 million people. So it's probably the biggest invasion in the history of the world. But I will say this. I would love to get a society that was so utopian that we could open the borders. What that would take is end of entitlement programs entirely. And that's not the end.
First thing, every single penny.
That's not the end of it. I mean, we'd have to remove voting rights from people coming over here for a certain amount of time. There's a lot of things that would have to take place to just open the borders. And I get
Defend
it.
Property rights, make 2A unquestionable.
And I love the purist libertarians. I do. I consider myself one in my heart, but I can't operate that way in politics, unfortunately, currently today, because populism is the most popular ideology when it comes to politics today. And Trump proved that. If we're not going to listen to people, and we're not going to have a solution for their very real fears, and we're going to sit around and argue with each other all day about whether a crackhead has the right to be next to the slide that my daughter's on at the park, okay? And some
which
weird
was a major
hypothetical
argument today.
All week, okay?
That's what people see on Twitter from us.
We're never going to change anything, at all. We are not going to change any hearts and minds. We're going to continue to sit in our echo chamber and talk to people about these same hypothetical, crazy, asinine situations for the next 25 years till we all die, and then our children are left in our wake trying to fix the situation that we should have been fixing. And so I get to go out and talk to these people, and I'm going to listen to their fears, and I'm going to come up with like valuable solutions to their fears. Otherwise, they're not going to listen to me anymore. They're going to completely cut me out and stop listening.
That is a good answer, and I like that your least libertarian position. I wouldn't say I'm an open border person either. I don't mind like Ellis Isles style, and I think that we, by completely locking the border down, but then not enforcing anything when people come across, we incentivize the worst elements to come across.
Right.
Because it's the criminals that are willing to make that jump.
I want to be
But
very
I'm with
clear.
you.
I'm not anti-immigration by any means, dude. I think that, and I said this on the show last night, and it might make people mad, but look, you want to have some kind of like cultural means to connect with people in a society, and you're running to govern a society. Now, doctors, lawyers, even construction workers, bricklayers, these people who want to come over and add to society, add a net benefit to the people who are already paying taxes in this country, already getting absolutely raked over the coals in taxes. Great. But people who take showers in horse urine in the middle of the desert, I mean, they're not going to be able to easily assimilate with the rest of the American public. They're going to get $10,000 gift cards from the state of New York.
The big part.
They're going to get free college education. They're going to get free healthcare. They're going to get free entitlements. And like, that's all at the expense of the American taxpayer who you're running to govern. So you need to have an answer for that. And I think that it's important that we really bring that up. We have to have some kind of vetting process for people to come in here and be able to align with culture. Otherwise, we're going to be letting all kinds of people in here that hate us, absolutely hate us, and want us, our entire way of life and our entire culture and our entire society absolutely destroyed. And we can't have that in a peaceful society. It'll never work.
It's also the political ploy of it that sort of drives me really insane. Like, so we just finished our taxes. We haven't filed yet, but we have a tax person. Like, we're at that point now where it's beyond my understanding or time to be able to understand. But in the last 3 years, I've paid enough in taxes that I could pay off my house and put my kids through college.
Oh, sure.
And then I see like Joe Biden spends $700,000 for TikTok stars to promote the vaccine, or the feds are flying people to different cities around the country as they come across the border, knowing they'll never come back for their court date to see if they actually need asylum, which is like, you know what? If you're a political, like, seeking political asylum for real, like then I'm 100% like, give me your poor, you're tired, you're huddled masses, you're going to be free. That's the United States. But when you're like, did you see that CNN video where it was like 40% of the people coming across were from China?
Oh,
and
yeah.
They had videos showing them how to do it, and it's just like easier than trying to get a visa.
And a lot of people don't know this, but they're coming across the northern border as well. They don't talk about it,
I believe
but
it.
Canada as well. And there's a large contingent of that's from the Middle East as well. And look, I always get the same answer, like, "Oh, well, your country caused that." I get that. I understand 100% that we.
That's
helped
why we want to stop the
destabilize it.
wars.
But we want to stop the wars so that they can repair their countries and go back to living how they were living before or better. Okay, and I get that, but there's people coming from the Middle East that are getting stopped by reporters and telling the reporters, "Yes, we're terrorists. If you guys let us in, we're going to hurt people." Like, that's not okay, man. We need to really have some kind of system to make sure that doesn't happen. And you can say what you want. If there's a federal government to exist at all, it should exist to protect the rights and safety of the people that live in their country. Okay, and I don't mean safety. Yeah, and I don't mean safety in the terms of like Patriot Act. I mean safety and don't let any more buildings get toppled by airplanes.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean?
Somebody's firing missiles across the ocean at us. We're ready to shoot them out.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
So you actually touched on something I find interesting, because we do need to build bridges. I think where we go wrong is thinking that means we have to walk across the bridges. We then have to sort of light the path to get people to walk back across the bridge to us. But looking at the Republicans and the Democrats as they are on paper, and what I mean by that is not the politicians at the top, because there's no difference. I always say the biggest lie in the world is that Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell are different. If they switch states, he'd be wearing a pink pussy hat and she'd be shooting with the NRA.
Exactly.
But the people, there are a lot of good people who really believe I mean, I would argue they're entirely wrong. And even if it's a matter of opinion on some of the policies, their party doesn't care about the policies. They care about winning power for their donors. But as you're talking to people out there, what's one issue you feel like we could really connect with Republicans on, and one we could really connect with Democrats on?
So this is a great question because there was this insane paradigm shift during COVID. Okay, like we've never seen in the United States before. Republicans essentially went to this like anti-police state, holistic medicine attitude, right? Like for the first time ever in the history, they were like, "Oh, well, let me look into some of these off-label uses for ivermectin or whatever," like which was totally crazy, right? And then right, and then there was times when the Democrats became anti-war again for a while, and you're like, no way, this is not real, and they became pro corporation, which I thought was funny. I'd never met a leftist who was pro corporation before, but they were like, yeah, let those corporations tell people what they have to put in their body. Whoa, wait a
Yeah,
minute, this is insane,
yeah.
right? So there was like this great paradigm shift, and I think right now, and I obviously the vote for vengeance slogan that we have for the campaign, that has a lot to do with the COVID regime. In fact, the vast majority of that was centered around the COVID regime. When I started the campaign, we were just coming out of this COVID stuff, and this was the greatest tyranny of our lifetime for four
It's what
years.
got me active after
Yeah,
22 years of
yeah. It,
registered and given money. I was like, I got to do something. I'm with you.
it was, and I think that the right is really mad about it. And the Republicans are actually really mad about it, but they don't have leaders that are actually going to hold these people to account. And I found the most support from actual Republicans. In fact, I have a ton of Vivek and DeSantis supporters that are refuse to vote for Donald Trump that are working on my campaign now,
I believe it.
because they, especially the DeSantis supporters were just so upset with the COVID regime, and that's why they liked DeSantis, is because he seemingly to the public he was the guy fighting back against the COVID regime, and now I
I
don't
think
think he
he
was
came
that
around.
great.
I give credit
Yeah, I
where
don't
it's
think he
due.
was that great on it. My governor was much, 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 much better
Where
than Ron
are you
DeSantis.
in?
I'm in Iowa.
Oh, I didn't know that. I always
Yeah,
think of
Kim,
Christy Nome as like the other.
no, Kim Reynolds was Noam was good too.
Okay,
So her and Kim Reynolds, who's my governor, were
interesting. I
very
did
good on
not know
COVID.
that.
Yeah, yeah, we didn't shut down. She outlawed the vax mandate. She outlawed the mask mandate. She was pretty badass on this stuff.
All
And
right, very
so
cool.
yeah, I've found a lot of common connection with Republicans that are really jaded with the party on that, and obviously the other big thing for some of them, because the Republicans that aren't like John McCain, George Bush Republicans are now anti-war, right? And so like talking about Ukraine and Russia, talking about this Taiwan being a tripwire for another war with China, and talking about the Israeli and Palestinian conflict have really gotten me a lot of points with some of these great influencers and Republicans. And I think that those are important issues for everybody in America, but especially those people and a lot of the independents and a lot of the people who have just been jaded by this constant warfare and stuff. And so that's what I go on with those guys. Of course, with the left, I think that the important message there is that a lot of them want to hear that we're going to end the drug war. I think that's really important. A lot of them are, believe it or not, very anti, like CIA, NSA, and stuff like that. The Julian Assange thing is very important to a lot of leftists and right too, just not the Republicans in general, but like the hardcore, like alternative right and conservatives. They don't think that he should be in jail. So that's kind of this like prison reform and the drug war kind of messaging with the left has worked really well. Now, leftists don't really like me. I'm going to be very clear about that. They don't really like me very much. There's a reason for that. It's because I am a capitalist. I believe in capitalism. I think capitalism will win, is winning, has pulled more billions of people maybe out of poverty than any other economic system in the history of the world. And we don't even have real capitalism here yet. So, could you imagine what it would be like if we actually had true, free, and unfettered trade in America? That would be amazing. I've learned to, when I'm talking to leftists, I've learned to temper my speech in some things. Like I don't call it the free market anymore. I call it the consumer-driven market, which is exactly the same thing, but it doesn't shut down debate right away. So there are some things that I'll change if I'm talking to a leftist, but for the most part, we're never going to get the left to like us. We want like the government to lose all control essentially, and the left is the opposite. The leftists want the centralized power to make us do all the things they want us to do. And so it is hard talking to leftists, but I do have some tricks here and there when I'm talking to them, especially personally. But any of them that ever watched my show or talked to me or heard me speak probably don't like me very much. Just how it's going to be.
So It's actually funny you mentioned that. I think I said in the email I'm going to go see Dune 2 a bit later on this evening. The guy I'm
Oh,
going with
nice.
is one of my best friends for about 12 years now. But when we met, and to be fair, he was still in college then, and had since he's gotten a master's in cultural anthropology, and he was an avowed Marxist. And when he would take the diamond test, he would come out as authoritarian left. And now he still falls very left, but he's all the way libertarian left.
Sure.
And I'm like,
I
you got
have a
to
lot of
try.
leftist friends.
That's
Yeah, I've
cooperativism. That's
I have a
different.
lot of, yeah, and mutualism. Mutualism is fine. I mean, for the most part, Proudhon was pretty smart and knew what he's talking about. And I think he was, I've had this argument with leftists on Proudhon. I think I've probably read more leftist literature than most leftists.
It's all I
Um,
read. I know what
yeah,
I believe. I don't need to read more of that. I need
yeah,
to know
and
what they believe.
I've actually written articles on this. I wrote one called "Why Philosophy Matters," and I wrote all about Peter Kropotkin and Marx and Proudhon and Bakunin and all these leftists and communists and
Foucault,
socialist guys. Yeah,
Marcuse,
yeah, absolutely. Murray Bookchin and all these guys. I mean, I wrote a paper because it is very important to understand that, because look, some people might get mad at me for saying this, but the left is our enemy, man. Straight up. They're going to be our enemy. And if you don't understand how to argue with your enemy, you're never going to change their mind, first of all. But second of all, you're not even going to understand what they're telling you. And that's the important thing, is that, like, you understand what the threat is and how important it is to push back on these ideas. And if you can't argue against those ideas, then you're not going to make it very far. And I think it's really important. So, but yeah, I'm definitely better read on a lot of this stuff than people would think I am, just because of the way that I talk about the message and I say the message. But I could name all the philosophers right now, and I don't know any
yeah,
other
that's it's same.
righties that could do that.
If you don't read it, then like some of the stuff that's going on, and I will tell you up front, I hate the term woke. I think it's become as useless as fascist from the left. But this whole ultra progressive, cultural Marxist, if you don't study Marcuse and how he brought this in, then you have like
Right.
read Repressive Tolerance. That's where you start, and then look into what
Yes.
he did with Angela Davis and with and how William Bell, and how critical race theory got written and how it expanded into scholarship. Then you begin to understand, like, and then
This
you
is
also
all part of it's all part of the
use
playbook,
Nazi
buddy.
tactics.
Yeah,
It
it's all
was
part of the playbooks, 100%. It's all very purposeful, and it's meant for something. And guess what? Look around you. That's what it's meant for. It's
yeah,
doing the things that they wanted to do right now. It's happening. And so we're kind of like the last bastion, man. We're the remnant, and we're the people who have the opportunity to, we're the hard men that have the opportunity to make a better life for our children,
yeah,
right? We're at
bring good
that part.
times.
Yeah, we're at that part of the cycle right now. We're either the hard men or it's got to be our children. And I don't want it to be my children.
I'm with
And
you.
I've got enough of them, you know what I mean, to really want to fight for that. And I think that's, I heard something that Dave Smith said recently that really resonated with me. And he, I can't remember, I think it was Michael Malice, but someone was talking about, black pilled and white pilled, and why aren't you black pilled? And Dave said, I have kids. I don't have time to be black pilled. I have to be white pilled. I have to have hope for the future, because otherwise I've given up on my children. And man, if that doesn't resonate with you as a parent, I don't know what will. This is your legacy. Your children are your legacy. These are the people that you're leaving a legacy to. These are the people that are going to tell their children about you, and they're going to say, "Hey, my dad was so black pilled. He just let the government do whatever they wanted to
Yeah,
him."
yeah,
No, absolutely not. I can't
it's a
do that.
badge.
I feel like I'm failing my children if I do that. I have to fight with every tool that I have at my disposal. And this presidential candidacy is like one of those tools. I felt like we've built a big enough platform to make some headway. And if we don't use it, it's a waste, and it's wasted for my children. And I can't stomach that.
That's amazing. I'm with you completely. Like I said, it was the COVID regime that kicked me from being like a relatively regular financial reporter, but not much, or supporter, but not much beyond that, to like, I can't not do something. And my wife asked what changed. I was like, you saw what happened in COVID. Like, if I don't do something now, then I'm a failure as a father. And I
Yeah.
don't know that I'm going to win, but they got to see me die trying, because then they try too.
Yeah. If they watch you get on your knees, they'll get on their knees too. This is what our
Exactly.
kids do. They want to emulate
Exactly.
their parents, right? And if you give up, they're gonna give up too, man. And I can't stomach that thought. I'd much rather die a hero to my children than think than have my children think that they can't stand up to, you know?
Well, then let me follow up that, because that's good. That's a good bit of inspirational. A little bit silly, but what's your least libertarian position?
Oh, it's the border stuff for
Is
sure.
it?
There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it. Yeah, it's the border stuff. Some people might say it's my abortion stance, and I am unapologetically pro-life to the core, 100%. But I don't think that that's illibertarian, to be honest with you. I know some people would argue with me about that, and I don't care.
No,
I think that I
I'm pro-life. I have problems with some of the legislation, but more so because I think that we might be fighting that battle in the wrong venue. Like I think
now
that might be
I look at it this way. I say this. This is how I feel about it. If we are unapologetically libertarian, we believe that the rights of all individuals should be protected 100% no matter what. And that comes with a responsibility. Okay. You know what that responsibility is? It's the responsibility to take responsibility for your actions. One of those actions is creating a life. If you do the thing that makes you create life with reckless abandon, you have to take responsibility for that child. That child is now an individual, and their rights deserve to be protected. I don't believe that's illibertarian. Anybody that does believe that's illibertarian, I have a bone to pick with, but I also am not going to hold you to the fire for it because I know that libertarians don't agree on this issue. But the border issue, especially, I know is not a libertarian position for me. I believe that it's more of a populist kind of conservative position, and I'm okay with that. I think that that's okay. I think that in the grand scheme of things, when we're arguing about issues, the warfare state is much more important. The entitlement state is much more important than the welfare state. The Federal
which would
Reserve
take
is
care of
much more
all of
important.
yeah.
Yeah, the absolute destruction of the nuclear family in America is more important. I think that these are more important issues, and if you disagree with me on the border issue, that's fine. That's okay. I understand that, but I think you're spending way too much time disagreeing on people with this issue. I don't care if you're the fact of the matter is that most of the people who disagree with me and are spending all this time online arguing with Dave Smith and myself and good friends like Kyle Matovik and some of these great guys that I love in this movement who I better see Kyle at Pennsylvania tomorrow. Anyways, these people that are arguing with these people are anarchists. Okay. I love anarchy, dude. Like I'm an anarcho-capitalist to my core. I get it. But you guys are not involved in politics. You guys are absolutely 100% anti-politics. And we are trying to exist in a political game that they have created. And so we have to be able to convince people of our policies. And we're not going to be able to do that by saying, hey, your homeland should be absolutely overrun by foreign people. I'm sorry. It's just how it's my principles. So you have to go along with that. And I think that's where we fail as libertarians a lot of times is we think that just because we're right, that everybody else has to go along with our things. And that's not how it's going to be. So I would say definitely that's my number one, like non-libertarian position. Almost everything else I want to do is absolutely libertarian. And, I would love to, and this is something I talk about a lot in the campaign. And Vivek was very good on this stuff. As a president, I'm running to be the president of the United States of America. There are a certain set of legal laws that the president has to follow as well. Acts of Congress cannot be overturned by the president. I know we get into this kind of I don't know, treadmill of saying abolish this, abolish that, abolish this, abolish that. I want to do all that too. I want to get rid of the CIA. Sorry. I want to get rid of the CIA. I want to get rid of the NSA and the FBI and the ATF. Oh man, don't get me started on the ATF. I hate the ATF and the DEA and the Department of Education. I want to abolish all these things. I want them all gone. And I'm very libertarian in that position. I guarantee it. But I also know that I don't have the power to do that. If I should, by some stroke of luck, win this presidency, I would spend the first 20, 30 days or more getting literally tennis elbow from signing executive orders, getting rid of every single possible thing I could. Everything that is within my power to get rid of, gone. We overturned the AUMF right away, the authorization of use of military force, immediately put the responsibility back on Congress to declare war if they want a war. And even then I might veto it, and that way, at least the constituents of these politicians would have to see their politician voting their money into war. We'd get rid of all these things, absolutely all the things I get rid of. But I do like Vivek's kind of stance on this bureaucratic state, right? Like this administrative state, all of these agencies, all these bureaucratic agencies, we can lay off 75% of the workforce, the federal workforce. Get out, go away. The remaining 25% we can transfer around to maintenance departments and small departments around the country, right? And at least at that point, something like the FBI would have no time to go out and infiltrate Catholic
They can go back
groups.
to catching serial killers and child rapists.
Interstate
no one would
serial
hate the FBI
killers.
if they did that.
Dude, look, FBI, listen, if you're listening, listen, my FBI agent that's listening to me right now, my CIA agent, all you guys that are listening to me right now, because I know you all pay attention to me now. We've actually caught a few of you.
I believe it.
That's a whole nother story, but yeah, we've actually caught.
I've just had some run-ins with local police that people used to say it would happen. Like, no, it's not. And then wow, they know who you are.
We legitimately, even in my first run for chair of the party, caught an actual intel agent, like a legit one. He deleted all his social media and everything. That's a whole nother story. Anyways, so if you guys listen to me, people would not hate you if you went after interstate serial killers and child sex traffickers.
Yeah.
Nobody in this country would have a problem with you if those were the things that you focused on.
Get parades.
Which is what you were designed to do, not infiltrate Catholic groups, not go to school board meetings and call soccer moms domestic terrorists. Those are not the things you were created to do, FBI. You're not supposed to be listening to suburban dads and making sure they get tax audited like you did last year.
Not enforce bullshit health policy.
Yes, okay. You're supposed to be going after actual criminals, people who are actually harming others in society, and you're not doing that. So, I think that that 75% mass layoff, day one. See you guys, take your pensions and go. I'm done. And then we could start seeing what we could abolish. I think, when it comes to Federal Reserve, we don't have the opportunity to, as a president, to abolish the Federal Reserve. The 1913 Federal Reserve Charter was passed by an act of Congress. It has to be repealed by an act of Congress. But, and this is the cool buts, there are some cool buts here that we don't have this power in a lot of the other things. But when it comes to the Federal Reserve, the president gets to nominate the Federal Reserve chair.
Yep.
Okay. So I get to go and make that phone call to Bob Murphy. Okay. And I get to say, Bob Murphy, you are now nominated to be the Federal Reserve chair. Please bring your bat and pitchfork. It's time to start tearing down the walls.
Interesting. Okay.
So
I'd probably choose Per Violent.
Oh, Per would be great too. Don't get he'd be great too.
No, I love Bob.
Yeah, I love Per Violent too. I'm a big Per Violent fan. I've had Per on the show. I've not had Bob on the show. So if you're listening, Bob, if you really want to be the Fed chair, you better come on Break the Cycle. But I've actually said publicly several times I would make Ron Paul the Fed chair, but I know that he wouldn't take it at almost 90 years old. But it's more of a tribute, right? And also the president. I don't know a lot of people know this. The president gets to direct the National Treasury. If you guys don't understand that,
interesting.
That means we have the opportunity as the president to direct the National Treasury to take no more fiat notes from the Federal Reserve.
Okay.
Zero. No more printing money and handing it off to the federal government to circulate. It's done. So I can do that. And then once we see the outcome of that and we get people who can kind of start coming to terms with the fact that there's probably going to be a little blood, there's going to be a little downturn, but it's going to get better. Then we can go to Congress and say, look, we're no longer taking these Federal Reserve notes. We're shutting it down. I'd really like us to go back to something like even just the gold standard would be fine. And it's not serving the American public anymore. Then we could talk about getting Congress to overturn the 1913 Federal Reserve Charter. But I've written out a plan for this, and I think that that's a really smart plan to talk about because most libertarian presidential candidates are like, we're going to abolish the Federal Reserve. It's like, you actually can't do that, dude. So I'm the one candidate that actually has a plan to start really sundowning that thing in an actual way that can help Americans. And so yeah, I don't know. What question were we on? we were on the.
You covered it.
Sorry,
you jumped into sort of what would you abolish? What do your first 100 days look like?
I don't know, man. I go off on tangents when we're in the long form.
It's good.
That's why I do. That's why I like long form.
It's so again. I refuse to say we're not going to win the presidency, but I'm not naive. It's more of a principle thing that
Sure. But don't get me wrong. Crazy things have happened, and there's a possibility. And I think that one of our goals.
Both candidates could die. Just old age.
That could happen too, or we could get some faithless electors and really shake some stuff up, and get some electoral votes and really shake some stuff up. And but I think a really good goal to have as a presidential candidate of the Libertarian Party is try to poll at 15%. Try to poll in any of the big Quinnipiac or any of these big polls. 15% gets us in the debate. They cannot turn us down if we're polling at 15%. So I get to go on this 50 state media tour and tell people around the country, right? Like, listen, even if you're not voting for me, vote for me in this poll. Because if you vote for me in this poll, I get to go on that stage and tell these psychopaths, sorry, these narcissists, as my friend Rob would say here, these narcissists
Look up
are
narcissistic personality disorder.
no,
It's not a
I
better
get it.
thing.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. Uh, but these narcissists are continue to use your money for warfare around the country, around the world that you don't agree with. And I get to tell them about all these things that are hurting them in the Title 4D, and I get to have like another perspective on stage. So vote for us in this poll, just the poll, even if you're not going to vote for us in the elections. I get to do that. I get to do a 50 state media tour. Like I said, we're uniquely positioned to get on all of these platforms that I don't think the other candidates can get on. And we've already shown that we can do that. I think that when we wanted a Dave Smith presidential run, I'm doing those things that we wanted Dave Smith to do, and that's the important part
Yeah.
of all this is getting on those platforms and speaking that liberty shit. So, I think that there's a lot of really cool, realistic goals. That 5% goal is really important. I think it helps us with ballot access in like 20 other states where we're spending millions of dollars to keep ballot access in. And I think it's a realistic goal to get 5%. Everybody keeps telling me, "Oh, Rob Kennedy's going to take that from you." Rob Kennedy's not going to get on the ballot unless he gets in one of the three big parties. He's not even going to get on the ballot. He's going to be on the ballot in like 15 states max. So like he's not going to take from us. We have the opportunity to really set the stage for a 2028 run where we could win the presidency. But we have to do it now. We need somebody who's willing and positioned and ready to go. And I think that I'm the only candidate in this race today that has what it takes to do those things.
Well, so that's interesting. And I think what you're talking about is critical as a conversation we need to be having as a party right now. So like I think Project Decentralized Revolution is one of the best things that's come out of the party in a while because it enables every single person in the party to get engaged in a meaningful way. But to think that we're only going to do it bottom up is just the silliest thinking we're only going to do it top down.
Right.
So what do you think from the top the party's doing well right now, and where do you think we're really going astray, and how can we correct that?
I think we've lost our focus on growing membership. And that sucks because this party, and I had this, I listen, it's not just an argument with the current LNC. It was an argument with the last LNC, and it was a huge argument with Joe Bishop Henchman, who was the chair of the LNC when I ran for chair the second time. He probably cheated to beat me, to be honest with you, but that's a whole nother show too. He came out and said that membership isn't a driving factor of success for the Libertarian Party. And boy, did that hurt to hear, because not only did it suck, it was also untrue. The membership of the Libertarian Party is the lifeblood that keeps us running. It is what keeps the lights on for us. It is what gives us money for ballot access. It is what gives us money to run down ballot candidates all over the country and support them in any way possible. When our candidates support people that are able to help build websites and do stuff like that. It's what helps us with our data processing. It's like this is the lifeblood of the party. And so like we have to have a huge focus and emphasis on building membership in a meaningful, impactful way. And I mean like Harry Brown numbers, double the party in 1 year. And that's something that I hope to do with my candidacy. And that's a lot of that bringing people back to the party. Because if you haven't watched, the membership numbers have dropped quite a bit. And I guarantee you it's not all haters. I promise you it's not all haters, because I have some of my campaign team who definitely came in like 2020 with the caucus that are like, that were gone after 2022. We're like, I'm done. I can't anymore. Okay. So like, this is this candidacy. And when I first started this candidacy, I said this candidacy is more about bringing people back to the table and getting them involved again than it is about anything else. Because I think that we have a really good, chance to really bring people to the party and make them, the campaign staff and party leadership and it's candidates. I mean, gosh, we need candidates who can actually run in these things. I mean, it's all well and great that we want to run candidates at the low level all over the country, but we need candidates to do that. And we don't have candidates to do that because we don't have enough party members. And let me tell you something. The vast majority of the people who run for office in the Libertarian Party aren't non-members, okay? 95% of the people who run on the Libertarian ticket are members of the Libertarian Party. So it's very important that we fill the Libertarian Party with members. We get them involved. We get them working on campaigns. We get them working to run campaigns, to be candidates, to do all these things, to fundraise for candidates. And that's, that's really what decentralized, and I love the decentralized revolution model. It's, it was a big goal of mine. I mean, really, it was something that I helped shape with the people that came in and talking about this nullification. And, I think that working with Michael Bolden and working with some of these great guys that I've got to work with over this last 10 years has been great for me, because I learned the importance of getting into local office and the importance of getting into state office and being able to tell the federal government, basically, kick rocks. We're going to nullify all your federal gun laws. That's what we're doing in Iowa right now. Okay. So, like, I understand the importance of that. I don't want to knock the decentralized revolution at all. I think it's one of the most important things to happen in the Libertarian Party since its inception in 1970s. Okay. Absolutely 100%. But we got to fill those positions. And I think that we have not been good at recruiting for the party over the last 2 years. It was one of my big gripes after Reno. Okay. And I don't think that this board, I think there's a lot of really great people on the board, but I don't think this board is running the way that it should. I think that the lack of institutional knowledge has not been great. I'm not saying it's because they're nefarious or any of those things. It's just like there's almost everybody on that board is new, has never been in leadership, certainly not national leadership. There's very few people like Stephen Nikela and Karen Ann Harlos. Other than that, almost everybody is really new to national leadership. And there was so much institutional knowledge, 50 years of institutional knowledge of how to run that party, that was important. And I think that a lot of those processes have been kind of pushed to the wayside and been made to look like not a big deal, that were a really big deal. And some of our staff members that were kind of pushed aside, that were really good at what they did, even though they may have ideologically not been in line with us. They're really good at some of the things they did. So I'm not super happy with that, but I think that, this election year, we have a really a great opportunity to just make this thing an awesome, well-oiled machine. Get to the national convention in DC, put some blood on the LNC that remembers how these things work with the new blood, and really get things going again, man. So that's what I hope to see, and I think that we have the opportunity to do that in this year.
I think you make a good point that from top to bottom, when you talk about institutional knowledge. So I'm running for North Carolina Congress this term, but I ran for mayor of Charlotte last term. And again, I ran to win. You want to win, you run to win.
You
That's
want
how
to
you
win.
learn
Yeah,
how to win.
absolutely. Yep.
But I knew the odds going in. But I was like, I'm going to take on the biggest race available, because that's where I'm going to learn the most.
Oh, yeah.
Because if I want to win races, I got to expect to lose some races. Like, that's how you do it. And you get better at campaigning. You learn how to focus. You learn how to message. And without members, again, there's no institutional knowledge to build. There's no knowledge base. Right. It's just, and not everyone's a candidate.
We're pissing in the wind, man. We're pissing in the wind. And that sucks. And we've been doing that for 50 something years, like there's times where there's been some really great highs and some times where there's been some really low lows. But for the most part, we're pissing in the wind, especially like state level and above. And like I think that's great to build from the ground up. That's definitely should be our focus. But we got to have people to run those levels. We have to, or we're pissing in the wind. Absolutely 100%.
So that's the party. Looking just at the campaign and looking back at Joe and Spike, and then Gary and
that Weld guy.
Yeah, there it is, Bill. Yeah. God, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
What did their campaigns do right, and what did they do wrong? Like, what lessons can you learn on both ends?
Well, I think Spike did a lot right in 2020. I don't think Joe did much right. I think that Joe and to some extent Spike wanted to really pander to the woke crowd. I know you don't like that, but they really had this thought that they could reach the people who hate us. And I just don't think that that's a good idea. I think Spike was wildly much better than Joe and should have been the top of the ticket in 2020. Of course, a lot of people didn't trust him either because he came from the Vermin Supreme campaign. So I get that. I think
that's a fair point.
Yeah, I think that Spike kind of exuded. He's a business owner, like a small business owner, and kind of blue collar as well. And I think he was able to kind of exude that in his campaign and be like with the people, and that's why he's so good now at like doing "You Are the Power." And I almost mixed up part of the problem and "You Are the Power" and said "You Are the Problem," but "You Are the Power," and he gets to go out and help the less fortunate and homeless, houseless, whatever you want to call them. And he gets to have people all over the country go and lobby the governments for all kinds of things. And I think he's doing a really great job. And he's been able to parlay his run into a organization that's being very helpful in the United States right now. Really good stuff.
Spike's 3 hours from us. He's in North Carolina all the time.
I love Spike, man. He's
you
great.
see him in action. There's no nonsense. Like,
yeah.
he's
He's very good.
passionate.
It's fun. It's always funny to me because I was Spike's friend long before he ran for president or vice president. And I used to go on his show, Muddy Waters of Freedom and My Fellow Americans. And he was like bumbling, like stress ball, like anxious all the time and stuff. And now he's just like the coolest, like calmest, smoothest dude. I'm like, what did you do? Did you go to school for this or what did you do? Because you're like a complete night and day from when I knew you before. Either that or he just puts on a really good show. I don't know, man. But I
Or
love that guy to death.
bet a woman got married.
Yeah, that could have done it too. But I love that guy to death. So nothing bad to say about him. I didn't agree with some of the moves he made in his vice presidential race, but I definitely think he should have been at the top of the ticket. And for those of you that don't know, in 2020, I went around and lobbied the caucus to vote for Spike for vice president. That was me. I was the guy. I was like, we got to do Spike. Spike's got to be the guy. And so I was happy to see that, and I think he did really good. I think they dropped the ball. I think the messaging was not good. And it could have been a lot more radical from the top of the ticket,
especially during COVID.
And Joe, yeah, especially during COVID, we had a really good opportunity there. And but Joe like kind of just disassociated herself with the whole Spike campaign. So whatever, she sucks. And then the Gary Johnson and Bill Weld campaign. First, their biggest mistake was putting Bill Weld on the ticket. I mean, this guy sat on the board of CFR. He's part of the reason why we stay at war in the Middle East. He was the mayor or he was the governor of Massachusetts. Which, by the way, you can't be the governor of Massachusetts if you don't have an in with the Irish mob. I hope you understand that, especially at the time when he was the governor. And there's no doubt with the way that man drinks that he's been around some Irish mobsters. So I'm sure he's been involved in all kinds of corrupt stuff. I won't make up conspiracy theories because I don't know, but CFR is bad enough. And Gary was not, look, I didn't follow the Gary campaign in 2012, but I went back and watched what I could. The Gary of 2016 was not the Gary of 2012. He ran a very solid, like great, inspiring campaign in 2012. In 2016, he showed up to every campaign event looking like Towley from South Park. Literally, he was so high at every campaign event. He showed up to endorse Larry Sharpe on the steps of New York City's like Capitol building, right? Or not Capitol building, the city building or whatever. And
was it the Met?
I don't remember what it was.
I think
exactly,
I did see that.
He showed up and there's a video and he's like, "This is my friend Larry Sharpe and he's running for governor and you should vote for him." And his eyes were like bright. He looked like Droopy Dog, like from the cartoons. And he was just high out of his mind. It's like, dude, you can't do that, man. Like, I'm not particularly like a weed smoker. I don't smoke a lot of weed, very occasionally. And I have whiskey here and there, but that's very rare too with all the kids I have and stuff. But you can't show up to campaign events like that, man. You can't show up to media day events like that. That's just not good. And so I think he phoned it in. If you listen to an episode of Tom Woods called the Judd Weiss Report or the Judd Report where Judd Weiss was on, he explained that Gary only ran because he owed Rod Nilsson money from his first campaign for helping him start a business. And Rod Nilsson made like $1 million as a campaign manager for Gary that year. And Gary just kind of phoned it in and didn't really care. So like, I think that we had this huge opportunity in 2016 to run against Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and really make an impact. And that 3.5% or whatever he got was like a real shot to the gut, man, because they dropped the ball. They really did. When he's on TV, Bill Weld's on TV talking about, Hillary Clinton's a fine public servant. She'd make a great president. And we should have some gun restrictions. And it's like, dude, you just screwed the whole pooch, the entire pooch, all the way as deep as you could go. You screwed the pooch. And we dropped the ball. And I don't intend to do that. I intend to stay the mostly principled, loud, outspoken, brash libertarian that I am through the whole campaign. There's no doubt about it. And whether the vice president candidate for me be Clint or one of the other presidential candidates drop and run for vice president, I know that most of the people in the race that can get that vice presidential spot right now would make a good team with me. I love Mike Tremont. I think Mike Rechtenwald's really good on some stuff. I don't think that either of them were top of the ticket material or I wouldn't be running. And I think Clint would be great. Clint is my first choice for VP. And we had the opportunity to go out and kick some ass, man. I really believe that.
So let me ask just a couple more questions. And I got a couple of more like personal who argue questions about campaign, but one more from the political angle. We mentioned Vivek, talked about RFK Jr. a little bit, and I'll tell you, I'm huge fans of both of them. I don't think they're libertarians, which is a distinction, but I think they are making progress on liberty message, and we're the ones pointing out where they don't have liberty messaging. but like their popularity is their liberty stuff. RFK is getting popular on bring down the duopoly and attack the COVID regime. Look at the industry regulator revolving door, and Vivek's talking about cut 75% of the government. That's what's catching on. On that note, like where do you see potential opportunity for us to work with non-libertarians, but where there's real overlap on philosophy or policy?
Well, first of all, I don't think RFK is doing anything libertarian at all. I think that he makes his living fighting medical malpractice suits. And so he's always looking into everything to try and fight medical malpractice suits. It's how he's made his living and his money. Other than that, this guy is an eco-fascist, 100% has called for businesses that don't go along with the climate agenda to be shut down. He's said that he would sign a bill if it came across his desk to remove the Second Amendment. He is absolutely not libertarian in any capacity whatsoever. And I don't like the guy. So I think Vivek was very, very, very good on most things. Of course, he wanted to go to war with Mexico and the cartels, which I just think is
and he likes a massive estate tax too, which is
yeah. I mean, there was a lot of things that Vivek was very bad on as well. But I'd say he aligns with libertarians on way more things than Robert Kennedy does. I really can't stand the fact that Robert Kennedy's trying to get this like libertarian label. He was at the California convention and had his security guards pat everyone down for guns before they could come into the debate. Not really my kind of thing. So, but I think that there's all kinds of coalitions, issue-based coalitions that we should be making where we can. I'm not going to march in the street with Marxists. I think I made that very clear when I resigned from my position as vice chair. With the End the War rally, I think that was a great idea on paper. The People's Party are devout Marxists, 100% rooting for Russia to become the Soviet Union again and take over Europe. I don't want to march next to those people. They're not actually anti-war. They're not anti-war. They're pro, punishment and death of business owners.
Yeah, they're just anti-US.
Yeah, it's really bad. I mean, it's like marching with serial killers in my opinion. Over 100 million dead due to communism and Marxism in the 20th century. I don't want to be around those people. Now, if they were like, hey, would you sign this petition to end the wars in Iraq? Yeah, dude, that's fine. I would totally do that because I want the wars in Iraq to be over. We've been bombing Iraq since I was 6 years old, and I'm 40 now. That's insane to me. That's crazy to think about. We were at war in Afghanistan for 21 years. It's time to end those things. I think we should always work on issues with people that we can. I mean, if there's legislation that we can put forward and it happens to have a co-sponsor that is someone I may not be a fan of, that's fine. I'm not going to march in the streets with BLM, and burn down people's businesses. But I believe that we need some justice reform, and we agree there. But the fact is that especially with the left, a lot of our ends are the same on some things, right?
Yeah.
But our means of how to get there are wildly different because we're not trying to put business owners up against the wall, right? Like that's not what we're trying to do. Of course, we don't want corporations to have all the say in our lives. That's insane. Why would we want to do that? We just went through COVID and saw what happens when the corporations have all the say in our lives. Of course, we don't think they should have all the say in our lives. But we also don't think that, big businesses should be broken up and sent around the country and owned by the public. Like, I'm sorry, it's not how it should be. And so, but I think that there's a lot of issues, especially the warfare state, especially economics, like the economic sanctity of the United States currently is going down the tube. We're getting rid of the middle class entirely. And that's all by design. It's much easier to control the public when there's only the elite class and the poors, and that's what they would like to have.
Especially if you're worried about food on the table and a roof over your head, you're not thinking about too much else.
Exactly. And let me tell you, 12% of the population in the United States today, right now, is having problems putting food on the table. And they just sent $100 billion of tax money to countries around the world. So we have a real problem here. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So appreciate all your answers. I think that covers most of my political questions. A couple more just about sort of you, Joshua, the person. So the one thing I think about, and I frame the question to other candidates as president is a stressful job, especially, or at least if you don't have dementia, because I get my shot in at Biden. But the truth is campaigning stressful, life is stressful, and we don't have $2 billion war chests at our disposal to make everything easier. So like, how do you deal with stress? How would you balance the pressure of the campaign?
My kids, man. My kids and my family keep me sane and centered. I had a long talk with my family about this before I announced because without their support, there's no way I could handle this. Because I am a normal guy, man. I work a regular job. I take care of a family of 9, man. My solace is my children. That is my solace. That is where I find myself the happiest, even when they don't think I'm happy, and I'm being a little bit of a curmudgeon because I've had a long 12-hour shift at work, and I traveled all weekend, and and I'm doing this campaign, and I'm running the show. I still love them very much, and I'm very happy around them. It's the most happy I am in the world, and so like having them really keeps me centered and grounded, and remains like I get to remain focused on the goals because of them. Like they are the goal. They're when people ask me your why are you doing this? It's always them. It's always them. That is the why. And so like having them there to remind me of why I'm doing that keeps me centered and sane in this mission. And of course, outside of that, I got video games, man. I'm a big gamer. So
Nice. I just beat Cyberpunk 2077.
nice. I'm thinking about playing it on stream or I'm either going to do that or I'm going to go back through the Mass Effect trilogies because those are my favorite. That's my favorite games ever.
Someone keeps telling me I got to play those. I've Resident Evil Biohazard. I got halfway through. I've beaten all the other Resident Evils, but I just got that last. But I wanted to switch to playing Biohazard, and then I'm on my second run of Tears of the Kingdom. I got one upstairs in the PS5.
You have Xbox? Oh, you have PS.
PS5, and because I got it for Last of Us. So I'm more of a Nintendo person, to be honest. Sure. I'm a Zelda person. But Last of Us is, I think, like one of the best games of all time.
Yeah, I'm definitely an Xbox guy. I haven't been a Nintendo guy since the 90s. I went to PlayStation for a while, and then I went to Xbox. So, and I've never looked back since point. Xbox 2
I said I'm a
whatever.
Nintendo guy. I'm a Zelda guy, is what it is.
Yeah,
like I buy it for the Zeldas. My kids like the Nintendo.
I'm telling you right now, if I bought a Nintendo for my kids and I had Smash Bros and Mario Kart, I'd probably be playing that a lot. You know what I mean?
Fun
for sure. There was definitely I played Nintendo through 64 when they had GoldenEye. I spent an entire summer playing GoldenEye, and then
you can't
and then
see
after
it. I
that,
have it right there. N64, 12 games. I got Ocarina of Time, Mario Kart.
I love
64.
64 is cool, man. Yeah, I would come and play GoldenEye with you for hours, guaranteed. Right now.
I love it. Well, so then one last question, and I have to warn you, this is potentially the most controversial one you're going to answer for North Carolina. For home defense, what's better?
AR-15
gauge shot. Yeah?
Yeah, 100%? Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I hate this argument that shotguns are the best home defense weapons. My wife can't shoot a shotgun, buddy. She could shoot an AR-15, a small AR-15, no doubt, very easily. And yeah, I just don't like the thought. First of all, you have way less ammo with the shotgun. Depending on what ammo you have in the shotgun, you can spray and really mess some things up, or you could put a slug through the wall. AR-15s, you have a better. First of all, you have a better opportunity of hitting your target, I think, with an AR-15, especially if you're not close. I know that a lot of home intruders get close, and that shotguns will be effective at close range, but you just have a better. I don't know. You have a better opportunity, and I'm a gun guy, but I'm not like a gun guy like the gun community in Twitter right now. But I have an AR-15, and I also have a mini Draco, and I have I got guns, man. I got a Beretta sitting right next to me right now. Okay, I'm never far from a gun, but I just can't imagine that there's really people who argue in good faith that a 12 gauge shotgun is better for home defense than an AR-15. I can't. So
as somebody who shot both.
Okay,
I accidentally sparked like the greatest debate because I'm not a gun guy. I have guns, but I just a few. I have an AR. My daughter has a 22, and I got a couple of 9mm now.
I will say this though. Look, I'm gonna pull it back up. This is my Beretta 92X. Okay, it comes ready for a red dot sight on it. I had carried Glock for many years. In fact, the first gun I ever carried was a Kimber Pro Carry 2. So I started out a boomer, and then I went to Glock. And I carried a Glock at 45. I only carried 45 caliber. That's what I carried forever. And then I went to the range and I shot a Beretta Inox, like the stainless steel Beretta, and it was like butter. I couldn't believe how smooth it was. The only other Beretta I had ever fired was in the military, and it was terrible. It was the worst gun ever. But I never really thought about the fact that like thousands of other recruits had beat that gun up before me.
Yeah,
And now that I own a Beretta, I'll never go back. It's the most comfortable, best shooting, best
interesting.
firing gun I've ever owned in my life. Go buy yourself a Beretta. I know it's maybe $100 more than the Glock. It's worth it. Definitely.
I'm looking at a Walther. I love
That's
shooting the
Walters.
Walthers.
Yeah, Walters are fun. They're good. I look. I'm probably gonna buy a ZZ, and there's all kinds of other handguns I want to. I sometimes I carry my wife's gun. She's got a Smith and Wesson Equalizer, which is built off the Easy platform, the Easy Slide, and all that. But it's
Mhm.
got the three different size magazines, and it's got a green dot on it, and it's a really easy gun to carry. It's real nice and thin. My Beretta, obviously, like it's a lot harder to carry because it's much bigger. You know, it's basically a 20-round gun too. But man, it's just I don't think I could ever go back. And once I bought a
Interesting.
Beretta, I could never go back. It's
All
over.
right. After this, I'll have to email you like everyone that's answered the question. We've put out a few different articles in our newsletter going back and forth. And it's like the vice chair of Grassroots North Carolina, and of the Gun Owners of America, wrote a guest article just
Nice.
in defense of the shotgun. Because our
That's
2A
Gun
guy,
Owners of America wrote a defense of the shotgun.
and it's a compelling article, but our
That's it. I'm
2A
pulling
guy,
I'm pulling my damn support. I'm pulling my financial
I
support.
mean, he said shotguns are weapons from hell, so use them to send the bad guys back there. And that was his
Yep.
title. Like he's not messing around. But our 2A guy was AR-15 all the way. And
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. I now I got to find out what National Association of Gun Rights supports because
which one they got?
yeah,
I
because
love it.
listen, gun owners of America, if you really think a shotgun is a better home defense weapon than an AR-15, I might have to pull my financial support, truly.
That's funny. Look, one last thing. I know you mentioned you're 40. If I'm not mistaken, in 12 days you'll be 41.
March 13th. Yeah, I will be 41. Holy crap, I totally forgot. Yeah, it's coming up. It is coming up.
Well, happy birthday. Happy
Thanks,
early
sir.
birthday. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate this immensely. I look forward to it. I love just platforming libertarians and especially for North Carolina and getting it out there. And very much looking forward to seeing what you do over the next couple months.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, guys, if you want to help out on the campaign, go to the website, Joshua
Oh, I
Smith
should ask for the
2024.
plugs.
Yeah,
Give
no,
all the
I'll
plugs. Give all the plugs.
I'll plug the campaign website because that's what this is about, right? I'm not trying to push my show on you guys. You know that I do Break the Cycle twice a week. You can go check that out anytime you want. But go check out the website. It's joshuasmith2024.com. It's got our platform, our campaign videos, our media appearances. It's got a schedule on there for dates that I'll be in certain states. But the most important things are you can sign up for the email list, which is free. It'll tell you, we'll send you email updates about stuff that's going on. It'll be really useful if we should get into the general election. You'll get all the campaign updates from there. It'll be the same website. You can sign up to be a volunteer. We need volunteers. I know there's only 2 months left until the national convention. We still need help on all kinds of things. We love your help. Anything that you're good at, sign up for the media there. Third thing, and this is the most important thing, we cannot operate as candidates in the United States political system without money. It's just how it works. It's the most unfortunate part of all this. I know that libertarians are very, very slow to open up their wallets and give to candidates. I don't care if I'm your favorite candidate. I don't care if Rechtenwald's your favorite candidate. I don't care if Mike Termott is your favorite candidate. I don't care if it's Jacob Hornberger that's your favorite candidate. Go give these people money. Go give them money. Give them $5. Do $5 a month if you can. It's like the price of a Starbucks a month is going to help your favorite candidate continue to travel and spread the message. And that's what we have to do as candidates. So, give me money first. But if it's another candidate that you like, go give them money too. Please, absolutely 100% give them money because they need it. Trust me, we're up against financial juggernauts after November. And if we don't have a war chest, we shouldn't even be here.
I love it. Joshua Smith running for the LP, not the LPNC. I'm so used to saying that, for the Libertarian Party national nomination for president. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it immensely.
Thank you so much for having me on. I love you, North Carolina. I will see you if we get into the general, I promise.
Talk to you very soon.
Hey, everybody, it's Dub and Groo. We're back. It's been a while, man. How's it going?
It's been a long while.
Yes, it has. I love the stash. I love your hair.
I have hair
Grow it out a
again.
little bit. Yeah. It's a good look for you, man. I really like it. What have you been up to?
Well, anyway, I got a little promotion at work.
Oh, wow,
So-
cool. What are you doing now?
Well,
You're
I am now the head
cat
of.
daddy over there now?
Well, no, I am now the. Here's the thing. I don't know what we can and cannot promote on this endeavor, so
Promote
I will
anything
just
we
say
wanna
I'm
promote.
in
This is our
charge
show. This is our
of this North Carolina-based grocery chains store just across the line in Danville, Virginia. Their doings with people ordering online and picking up their groceries.
Oh, okay.
So that's the neutral way of saying what I do now.
Oh, so you work for Instacart.
Well, the system is run by the Instacart system, but it is under that store's branding.
Got you. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the name. I don't want to get you fired.
Yeah, but it does have to do with a big giant African cat.
It does. Well, you are the cat daddy. So it's very, very fitting. And congratulations. Seriously.
Thank you.
Yeah, you deserve a promotion. Well, the Canes play in less than an hour. They have a
Mhm.
matinee game. I guess it's Kids Day today.
Yeah. And
You should be there.
they've got a bunch of mascots from other NHL teams as the siren sounders today.
Oh,
Not just
which
Stormy.
ones?
I saw that the Devil is one. Whatever Colorado Saint Bernard is named, I can't remember his name. And who is the other
Why are
one?
they doing that at a Canes game?
I don't remember who the other two were, but I did see the tweet or X or whatever it is about it. I think people still call them tweets, even though it's on X.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call things
It will
anymore.
always be tweets. Okay.
Yeah, it's just on a site, but anyway. So anyway, we got a lot to catch up on. As we
It's been a
know,
while. We've
the
missed you
Panthers
all.
season concluded at a dismal 2 wins and 15 losses. But one thing we can hang our hat on, in the combined months of December and January, the Carolina Panthers won more games than the Philadelphia Eagles.
Wow, what?
They did not win a game in December, and they did not win a game in January. But the
Really?
Panthers won one. And that's all that matters. One is higher than
Wow.
nothing.
Wow, that's good. That's good stats.
Yeah, that's a weird stat from the NFL season.
Yeah.
But the Hornets had a terrible start to their season, which what else is new? But it seems like we may be coming out of the doldrums, thankfully. Not this year, but probably in the next year. We got a good core of Ball and Miller to build around. If they had done some of these trades at the beginning of the season, I wouldn't have been mad because at least it would have been them trying. But I think now that full control has gone away from Michael Jordan and Mitch Kupchak has stepped down as the general manager, things are starting to actually turn around now. Basketball people are actually starting to basketball things now.
Now, was it last year or the year before that Michael Jordan sold the team?
He did it in the off season of last year, but it didn't become finalized till like October, November, like right after the season started. So he still got to make the draft pick of Miller under his supervision.
Yeah, okay.
So that was ironically the last thing he ever did was probably a good thing for the franchise.
Which was
in terms
what?
of players.
He did what?
Well, choosing Miller, because remember, there was a big debate over who Charlotte would pick at number 2, and obviously Charlotte made the right choice.
Yeah.
And that hasn't always been true in Charlotte draft picks since, the then Bobcats came back.
Yeah.
So it's just like it, you know what? It sort of corresponds. Remember when the Canes magically won the number 2 pick and picked Andrei Svechnikov, and it sort of did the same thing for them. And you know what happened then? And now the Canes are, a reputable organization. And
Oh yeah, they're playing.
It was
Winnipeg
just after
Jets
Tom
today,
Dundon had bought them.
which
And
is the
I can see parallels beginning to happen between the two teams.
Yeah.
So
now,
maybe
sports betting. It's now
well, not exactly, because as you know, our government failed us again. They had a 6-month head start. They had a 6-month head start when the bill was passed. The onus was put on the lottery commission, which is run by the state, and they had a 6-month head start to where they could, get these people signed up, these betting companies signed up, and get them ready to come online on January 8th when they should have come online. But when January 8th happened, what happened? They said, "Oh, we're sorry. We weren't able to get everything cleared, and now you're going to have to wait till March 11th." And so I have
the betting apps are starting to promote,
right,
FanDuel and all those other ones,
and they're promoting to North Carolina, and North Carolina actually allowed people to start putting money on their accounts on March the 1st.
Yeah.
At noontime, and but they still can't bet with it for another 10 days after that. Now 9 days, and once again, even though this is going to be a good thing for North Carolina, it was still a massive failure upon the government to have things running on time.
Have you ever known the government to do anything well,
other than run up debt?
Rather than break your legs and give you a crutch and say, "Hey, see, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't be able to walk."
It's just something to think about. But going back to what I have bet on and not doing a very good job of it is that on my birthday, January 9th, I ended up downloading Prize Picks.
Nice.
Which is one of those daily fantasy sites where you can bet on just players. It's not really betting. They say it's just you're guessing whether somebody will do more or less of a stat they've generated. And even though it's not gambling, but if it looks like gambling and feels like gambling and smells like gambling, it's gambling.
Wow.
But it's legal in the state of North Carolina.
Wow.
So I got it, and I've won a few dollars, but here's my problem. I'll do a 3 or 4 man parlay, and I'll do great on the first 3 people or whatever, or first 2 out of 3, and then the other person will miss by like 1.
You'll get better at it.
I know with practice, but I'm going to have to see which site has the best matching offer. In terms of new sign up, depending on how much you put in, they'll match it with their own money. And
can you let
because
us know
I found out
episode?
this Prize Picks had a promotion that I did through Cam Newton that if you deposit $100, you got $100, and the money you bet with first is the money they gave you, not the money of your own. So that's actually a bonus. I hope the casinos do the same. And one of the ones which I will not be downloading just due to their poor business practices, poor equipment, and just shoddy, just general things is Fanatics.
Oh, really?
Which, they are the official sports bettor of the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, they are.
But I probably will not download their betting app, because if their betting app is as good as they're trying to do Major League Baseball's uniforms, I don't want it.
Yeah. Well, can you let us know next episode on your findings on which are the best apps and which ones are the most user-friendly with the best deals?
Well, yeah. Well, this is not a promotion, but I'm going to steer people to a site that I've been following that has all that information all ready to go. It is called Bet Carolina, all one word, .com. BetCarolina, betcarolina.com. and he has the 8 organizations that have been approved by the state of North Carolina. He's already gone on all their sites, and he ranks each of them by what they are good at, what they're bad at, and what their average star rating is on Apple and Google Play sites, respectively. So he has already done the homework for everybody. You just go to his site and read everything. And most everybody seems to be doing good. There are a couple hits or misses here or there, but I'm looking forward to March 11th. And I don't know what my first bet will be on, but it'll be nice to bet for teams rather than players.
Right. Yeah, that will be nice. It'd be nice to go in person too, which would be a lot of fun. I'll probably do that. Closest one for me is the PNC Arena.
Yeah, but remember, if you download the app, it doesn't matter where you are in the state of North Carolina.
I just think it'd be fun to go in person. I don't know. It's just
right. But that's interesting. I still find it funny that that initially I remember reading that story that they were going to turn the will call window into the betting slip place. Now that seems to have changed to they're going to put a betting parlor inside of the Backyard Bistro.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they bought the Backyard Bistro. It is now owned by the Carolina Hurricanes.
Really?
Yes.
And so that's where it's going to take place?
Well, it seems like it, because here's the thing. You know how Tom Dundon wants to turn that PNC Arena area into sort of like what Bob Kraft has done up there in New England with Patriots Place?
Yeah.
He wants to do that there. And you need to buy all that land, or at least have the Centennial Authority to have all that land that was surrounding the arena, which they pretty much did. And he just basically bought up the rest of it that wasn't owned by him or the Centennial Authority, which was the Backyard Bistro.
Nice.
So now there's going to be a lot of construction going on in that area.
Well, he also owns Topgolf.
Right.
And they're building a Topgolf in Durham now.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I also saw where Durham has opened up 885.
Oh, yeah.
All the way up.
That happened like 2 years ago, dude.
Yeah, but it wasn't completed. I was driving on parts of it, but there was a part of it that you still had to be on 147.
That's been done for like 2 years.
Well, I haven't. Here's the thing. I thought it wasn't open when I went down there, not last year. Yeah, it was 22, wasn't it? End of 22. So, yeah.
Well, it's been open for at least 2 years. You just don't live around here, so.
Yeah, I know. I'm missing all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what is it? What is it to do here in Caswell County?
All the high taxes. That's what you're missing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just I don't mind living around here, and but of course, not to get off of sports, but something big's coming up on Tuesday.
What's coming up? Oh, the elections?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the first Libertarian primary in 20 years.
Yes, since Barbara Howe.
Yeah, since Ms. Howe.
Yeah, I forgot who she ran against, actually, but she primaried against someone.
Makes me wonder, was it because I remember these names on the ballot, like, I don't know why, but Mr. Lon Cecil?
I don't know.
Yeah, I remember him being on the North Carolina ballot.
Did you vote already? Did you vote?
I'm gonna vote on election day.
Okay.
It's just for one reason or another, I think early voting is just too early, in my opinion.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like, it seems like more people now go to early vote than they do regular vote. And I think that leads to apathy.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't know how many people will actually come out and vote. I mean, because the two major parties have already decided who their nominees are going to be. And it's going to hurt lesser races. I'm talking county commissioner, school board, treasurer, all those races. And that's why I think it's not going to be a big a boon as people think it's going to be.
Well, no, typically primary elections are low turnout anyway. And really, in order to vote for our candidates, you have to request a libertarian ballot, and the two parties can't request those. You have to be unaffiliated.
Right. You have to be unaffiliated in order to request, but thankfully I won't have to request.
Right.
Because I am registered.
Are you a librarian?
I have an L on my voter registration card.
You're a librarian.
I'm a librarian.
No, so
yeah, it's always the quiet ones that get you.
It typically primaries are typically poor turnouts anyway, but our primary is basically useless for the presidential side. I mean, we pick our
right. It's just a preference poll. It's not a
Exactly.
binding document. It doesn't assign delegates
No.
or votes to anyone because
Right. We'll select our president and vice president at convention.
Correct.
DC. But it does matter for the governor race.
It does. And this was the question I was wondering when it happened. I was curious until I saw the sample ballot. I was worried.
Yeah.
Because until I saw the sample ballot, I was like, oh no. In the libertarian tradition, we've always had a nota on our ballots. And I thought, oh goodness, is it going to be Bray, Ross, and Nota?
Right.
And North Carolina has a proud tradition of voting no preference in the presidential poll for the last three elections.
I saw the no preference. Yeah. I thought
so. It's like, if nobody wins the libertarian primary, does that mean?
Oh no,
it wouldn't be on the ballot. No, somebody will because there is no preference under the two governors' candidates' names.
Right. Yeah.
But I still found that funny.
We don't have a NOTA, unfortunately. That'd be great, but we'll have a winner. We'll find out. I'm assuming Thursday night or Tuesday night.
Yeah, it shouldn't take long to count the libertarian ballots.
Oh, it takes them very long for some reason. Those accurate voting machines that we use here in North Carolina, they take a while to count. That machine takes a little longer than other machines in North Carolina for some reason.
I don't know, but what was funny last time I did this, when they had libertarian ballots in Caswell County for some reason in 2022, even though it was only for nonpartisan races. And when I came in and told them my name, they actually had to take the plastic off of the libertarian ballots because I was the first libertarian to vote in the precinct.
Oh, nice. Yeah, man, I walked in and out. I was done. I was in there for 5 minutes. It was so fast. But
one thing I am glad that they went away from, when I had left back in the 2000s, North Carolina had gone to touchscreen ballots, and I hated those things.
Oh, really?
Because I said there's too much corruption that could go on with that. At least, if there is a mess up, they can go back and check everybody's bubble sheet.
Right.
If they ever had to hand count the ballots.
It depends on who's counting them, I suppose.
Right. But anyway, I will go and vote on Tuesday. I will go, and I usually do it before work. I will just vote and go straight on to work.
Nice. Do it.
And I'll wear my I voted on my uniform because I'm allowed to do that. So I can remind people, hey, go vote if you haven't voted.
Yeah, go vote.
Because we're having 2 Super Tuesdays this year.
I don't know.
because North Carolina moved their primary up 2 months just to be a part of Super Tuesday.
Super Tuesday.
Yeah, it's like we're more than a dozen states are having their primaries on the same day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think there's 2 different versions this year. It's like one day is like 12 and another is like 20 or 17 and 20 or
Oh,
something
okay.
like that. It's
I don't
really
know.
weird. But
It's
anyway,
Super
it'll be fun.
Duper Tuesday.
It'll be Super Duper Tuesday. But anyway,
Got to
but
keep voting.
back
People tell us
to
how to live our
something
lives.
back to something that is important. I referred earlier to baseball, and people are starting to revolt. And sorry, that was my watch going off. But nothing's going on important. It's just that people are starting to revolt, and the 2 cities that thought they had proposals for new stadia, both in Vegas for the Athletics and Tampa, St. Petersburg for the Rays. And I'm like, okay, this is good. They're fighting back against, ownerships or ownership groups that, want to just, suck off the government and to get what they want. And, it could open the door for Raleigh or open the door for Dundon to buy a team and move them to Raleigh. Because, he has been the big arbiter of bringing a team to the Raleigh-Durham area.
Right. I think it'd be great.
Because I think it's a better option than the Charlotte area. I'm a neutral on this.
Right.
But looking at Charlotte and looking at Raleigh is the better option, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Because Raleigh has more land to build on. Charlotte does not. Raleigh can make it to where it's easier to get to because of I-40. I-40 is not such a quagmire as I-77 and 85 is in Charlotte, if you've ever
I
driven
don't
down
know.
that
You
way.
sure about that? I think
And don't go on 440 at 5 o'clock in the evening. You're gonna be okay if you don't do that. And
I don't
can
know, man. It
always
jams out pretty bad around here, man. Wake County's the highest populated county now in this.
yeah, that's interesting. And
Yeah, we surpassed
now they're
Pleasant
starting to be looked at by Major League Baseball. And I think it's all in part to the MLB Raleigh folks. They have been just this grassroots organization that has done so much to get Raleigh on the map before Dundon ever said anything.
Mhm.
And I've always supported them. They brought a great case with their stadium renderings on 4 different spots in Raleigh to put it. Even at the old prison site, they even had a rendering. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh
that'd be a good
God.
spot.
And that would be a great place for like a 35,000 seat ballpark.
I think that's off Western Boulevard or
Yeah. Oh, yeah. On that side of town, because that side of town really isn't built up,
Yeah.
And
That's
unlike
a lot of land right there too.
Eastern Raleigh or, on the north side going towards Wake Forest.
Mhm.
And, but I think baseball would be great for North Carolina.
Oh,
No matter whether it's a move team or an expansion team.
I totally agree with that.
Because we'd have a natural rival with those folks down I-85. We have a rival with those folks up I-95.
Yeah.
And
Washington.
Yeah, that's who I'm talking about. And it would be a nice little, southeastern belt of baseball there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and North Carolina's always been a hotbed of baseball players as well as basketball. Yeah. And I don't know what they would call them. Since everything seems to be Carolina this or Carolina that, or they could call them, one of my favorite team names were the Raleigh Oaks.
That'd be really nice.
And if you go to MLB Raleigh's website, they have a lot of proposals that artists had done a couple years ago. And one of my favorite ones, it would never pass in a million years, but I love the name and I love the hat. It was called the Raleigh Revenge. and their logo was a zombie Sir Walt.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And I'm like,
Sir Walter
and
Raleigh.
their theme was Strike Man Strike. And that's a double meaning when it comes to baseball.
That's amazing.
And
That would be
I
a
was
good
like,
one.
the logo was his head and his, at the time hat on a cap, which of course, as you know, he
Yeah.
was decapitated by the
Yeah.
Queen Elizabeth. And, it was great that he's out to get revenge on the ball field.
That's pretty cool.
And he did the colors in a sort of burgundy and blue.
Why don't you reach out to Dundon and see if he'll do it?
Well, it would be interesting if he took that idea. I think
Shoot him an
something.
email, man.
Well, see, here's the
You're
thing.
talking to-
They sent out a very cryptic Instagram post the other day. MLB Raleigh did about we're building something else. Stay tuned. And it was a different logo than their normal 919 home plate.
Wow.
So it may be they have gotten in touch with Dundon, and maybe they're working with him
Okay.
to create a new proposal
Well,
to present to Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just find out and see. I'm optimistic
about that, and maybe we
because
can update our audience next time.
because North Carolina could end up as one of the few places now. It wouldn't be concentrated all in one city like a New York or a Chicago or an LA, but it would be concentrated in the state where you would have the 4+1. You would have Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLS all in one state. And
And a minor league team.
And here's the thing, you wouldn't have to get rid of the Durham Bulls. Somebody said, why would you put a team in Raleigh if you already have the AAA Durham Bulls? I said, we already have the president set. You look up in Seattle. Who is next door to them? Tacoma. The Tacoma Rainiers have been a ball club for almost 100 years.
Yeah.
And they are Seattle's AAA team. So, and for many years, they changed it around a few years ago. At one time, the Colorado Rockies AAA team was Colorado Springs. So
Right.
it's not unheard of that
Oh, it happens all the
team's AAA be based nearby.
time. Mm-hmm.
It makes call up super easy. I mean, you saw that when the Checkers used to be affiliated with the Hurricanes before the fallout
that's
between
different though, because the Durham Bulls
Dundon and Ham
are
and
the AAA for Tampa Bay.
yeah.
So it's
And
not really-
the Charlotte Knights are the AAA for the Chicago White Sox.
Right.
So it's not that we can't do big league ball here. We do just under big league ball here, and it's time for us to upgrade ourselves to the major leagues.
Right.
But
No, agreed.
but
I gotta go get I have to go get my tires put on my car. I'm getting new tires today, so I need to go.
oh well, don't let me stop you.
Oh,
We don't want you to have a blowout on the road, and then the next thing we know, we're doing the next one where you're sitting on the side of the road waiting for a tow truck.
yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. I already have to air it up about every 2 or 3
Oh, it's got a hole in it.
Yeah, it's got a nail.
Oh,
It's too
lousy city
worn
roads.
out for them to fix it, so I have to go get new tires. And it's probably going to be crazy because the Canes are playing in 20 minutes, so I'm probably
Are you going to the game as well?
heading that way towards Raleigh. I'm going to Cary
Oh,
get the tires, but I'm heading that direction.
oh, the north of the south.
We're playing the old Atlanta Thrashers team, which I was a fan
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, well, they're going through struggles right now. They fired the old Hurricanes coach Paul Maurice.
Oh yeah.
And they actually turned it around a little bit. So you don't want to, they're sort of like a wounded snake. You don't want to take them lightly. Because they could just come up and bite you, and then you're on the bad end of a 5-3 loss.
Well, Winnipeg is doing extremely well right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, they had the slow start, which led them to the firing of Maurice. And but you know, the Canes are playing pretty well right now.
Oh yeah, they are.
And did you see Kochetkov got his second straight Rookie of the Month? So he is definitely in the Calder conversation.
Yeah. Well, I hope so.
So we'll see. And you know, that's the thing that people have always said. Our goaltending is subpar, but Kochetkov is having a Ward-esque run. And by the way, happy belated birthday to Canes legend Cam Ward, who was born on February 29th, 1984.
I met him.
So he turned 10 years old on Leap Day.
Yeah. I met him last year during the playoffs.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah. He's a nice guy, man.
But anyway, thank you for getting on. And let's rehashing what has occurred and what's going to occur here shortly.
Yeah, we missed everybody.
And I want to thank the people who have stuck around to watch us. As always, thank y'all as well. We do appreciate you staying to watch this cavalcade that we're putting on.
We would not have a show without you guys.
Absolutely.
You guys are making this happen.
Yes.
So share it on your social media. We know that
subscribe
video and this portion of the podcast is by far the best part, and just fast forward through everything else and just come to our spot.
Yeah, put the spike on our part.
Yeah. we get the ratings up for Liberty Inc. So well, that's it for us, and we appreciate it. Happy New Year, everybody, and we will be back very soon with Cat Daddy and Groo.
Or Dub and Groo, as it's officially called. Y'all have a wonderful whatever time of day it is.
Yes, do that.